We're live. I forgot to uh, be ready with the go live button, so I was just like do do do. But hey, how's everybody doing? We got Jack in the panel tonight. I think I will have others joining me. I know that Susan's having technical difficulties, so it's not limited just to Jack. Technical difficulties, although his are a lot more technical. Um, but yeah, I apologize for having to postpone from last night to today. But we had yesterday was a pretty big deal for the community for Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, and so um, I could have still gone live probably and done my podcast. But the problem was is that I read a part of the motion, and I basically I didn't have time to work on the podcast is really what it comes down to. So, um, and even though sometimes if you've never done a show, you don't realize, I didn't realize, and especially as, uh, what do you want to call it? I don't want to say I'm picky and I'm particular, and maybe my work doesn't show that, but I know what I put into my maybe my work doesn't show. I had to mute my YouTube. Um, I know what I put into it, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours and days, really. So, especially if I am creating a video, which I usually do because I really enjoy doing that. And if there's somebody out there that can do some of that work for me, as far as a pre-recorded podcast that I'm borrowing, all the better. So, but I want to say hello to my panel first and foremost. Jack, yesterday was a big day, and I don't know about you, but I'm mentally exhausted from it. How about you?
It was a huge day, and I mean, talking about technical difficulties. I mean, I had like 5 heart attacks trying to get my computer to run, and that was a whole nother gamut there. But yeah, it was you and Susan did a stupendous job reading that 50 pages or whatever it was, and then going through the exhibits, and a lot of great discussion afterwards.
Yeah.
It was an exhausting day. I mean, even after I did that one, I know the conversation carried on in other places. You and other people. Then I went on with Jeff and Big Jeff and Kelly last night, and did another live, and we just we went through the PCR again. So it was a long. I was pretty tired last night mentally.
Yeah. It was a long day. Well, it was actually 2 long days, right? Because we waited all day the day before, and
Well, at
so
least at least that afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, after she
yeah,
filed at 3 o'clock, we were trying to get it, thinking, but
yeah,
the thing about Zona, she's said in the past, until she gets a stamped copy that the court has actually stamped it received, she will not release it.
right, yeah,
That's happened in the past, so I'm sure that's what she was waiting for.
yeah, yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a big day yesterday and the day before, but today is well, I think it's just going to be a recovery weekend, to be quite honest with you. So it took a lot out of us, just getting it all together. It took a lot out of Jack getting the uh, hi Clara, great to see you. I'm glad you're able to make it. It took a lot out of Jack with the whole. Oh gosh, it was I. We were all very frustrated for you. Just know that, and there was nothing that we could do. Obviously, we didn't know anything that we could do to help you, and except for
No,
what we
I mean
did.
that's
So
why I jumped on my phone and got on Discord, and try to help you guys locate Zoe. So I mean, the live was literally set to go. All she had to do was push the button, and you guys could have just done your thing. And
right,
I mean, I wanted to be a part of it, but that would have been okay.
right,
Fortunately, that last thing that I tried worked. It just took me,
yeah,
15 minutes to get everything kind of resettled again. So
yeah,
it worked out.
Hey,
It worked out. What's that,
yeah,
can you
Susan?
all hear me? Can you hear
yeah.
me?
Yes,
Again,
ma'am. I
now,
was just
sister.
coming to you next.
Oh, good.
So Yeah. So, how about you? What do you got? We're lucky to have Susan here tonight. She normally, Wednesdays, when I normally would do the podcast, she has other activities that she's doing usually, and doesn't get to join in with us. So, yeah, I'm really happy
Yeah.
that maybe I need to switch to Thursdays. I don't know.
For
If
me,
it means we get
yes.
Susan, yeah. If it means we get Susan, heck yeah.
You
So
were talking about how exhausting yesterday is, but you're also forgetting that all day Tuesday,
yeah,
there was anticipation. We're waiting, waiting all day. And that
all of
was
us refreshing, refresh, refresh.
tiring in itself.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just
it
the
was.
anticipation and then yeah. But yeah, I'm feeling good about KZ's
I do
motion
too.
or
I do
or
too.
what's it called?
The
Yeah.
motion. Yeah,
Yeah.
PCR, post
Yeah.
conviction relief, third post conviction relief motion.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was.
At least for an evidentiary hearing, you know.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
at least for that. So,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I think that um, to that call to me is huge. It's a huge thing, and I get frustrated with those that are trying to not get their hopes up, or trying to I don't know, play devil's advocate or whatever you want to, whatever. I get it. You have to have some balance there. But I really felt so much better about yesterday's motion than I have any of the other ones as far as new evidence and Brady violations are concerned.
Well,
It only takes
I think,
one Brady violation, just one. So,
yeah, if the court will accept it, but I think for a lot of people, and then it's I'm not really just so much disappointed in Zellner. I'm disappointed in how the courts have made every excuse under the sun not to allow certain things. They went out to the Kepler belt on the outer rings of the outer edges of this solar system to justify their excuses, and
yeah.
it's just sickening to me. Anyway,
Hmm.
Well, and I'll make this my last comment about it. I, yes, I know what the state is capable of, and we know we've seen what Success has done over and over and over again. We know what she does. We know what she's capable of. We know what she thinks and how she thinks. But some things are just not. Um, you can't just push some things aside or excuse some things away. And I feel like this call is a definite Brady violation, and you can't just poo-poo a Brady violation. So, um, you know what I mean? And so I mean, I'm sure they're going to try, but that doesn't mean that the court is going. Well, of course, we know. I know, but I don't know. I just have better hope with this Brady violation that is provable. I have more hope this time around than I have with other emotions that have been filed.
well, the thing about this one, and you guys can agree or disagree. The thing about this motion that she's filed, she kept it really tight.
Yeah,
There's not really too much branching out into anything else. It's really tight,
yeah,
and that call, as you said, is really important. The affidavit that his Sowinski's former girlfriend,
yeah,
fiance, she agreed to do that, and what she heard. So yeah,
yeah.
I have hope.
Yes, I do too. I have a little more hope than I have before. So, but yeah. So, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but we won't have Kay with us tonight. She is traveling. Well, she's in Oklahoma. She's just going to be out of town, so she won't be able to join us tonight. And I will miss her because if you guys haven't already picked up on it, I rely on her a lot for making sure that I'm getting details and facts and little things that I might miss or misstate. I always have Kay there to catch me when I fall. So I will do my best. I always do my best, but I will do my best uh, extra hard tonight so that I can make sure that and if there's something I am not sure of, I will definitely let you folks know so that this is a speculation or this is I'm not sure of or whatever. I will let you know if there's anything like that, so we can, so I'm not putting out false information, because I don't want to I don't like to do that. So, excuse me. Tonight we're going to talk about an accuser that isn't a name that really gets heard as much as some of the other more common, bigger names. I don't know, that are out there as far as Daniel's accusers. But this is accuser Carla Raines. Last week we did, or the last time we did, Carla Johnson, and even I kept getting them mixed up. Which one is which Carla is which, which accuser. But this one is very significant to the case. Um, I don't actually remember. I'll have to pull up a little chart that I have, see if I can find find what it is. If I can remember where I put it, it's in my Discord. It pinned somewhere in my Discord, but um, I know I know some of the accusers who were absolutely got a not guilty verdict from, that he got not guilty verdicts on. And I know that some of that he got, that I definitely know some that he got uh oh, now I'm going to stumble over my words, charged with, basically. So so what I'm doing right now is I need to find out, double check my I don't know where my pinned messages are. Oh, I'm trying to mute my own channel. I'm so funny. Let me see here. I think I've shown this before. And I don't know if it's going to show up now, but I'm just going to use it really quick to look and see what Carla Raines. So he was charged with one count of, I believe it was, she claims that he made her expose herself, and she was a not guilty. He was found not guilty on her charges. And there could be a very interesting reason why, and you'll hear that in the video when I start it. If I didn't say already, though, before I get started, I wanted to say hello to the few folks that we have in our chat tonight. We have Darkside. Darkside, I think, is going to be heading off to bed very soon. Robsky is here. Thank you so much, Robsky. And Claire View. And so I really appreciate you guys for showing up tonight and being here, and being a viewer in the video. So he got not guilty on Carla Raines, and it's really interesting because, well,
She's one of those. She's one of those I know almost nothing about.
Yeah, she did. The biggest thing about Carla Raines, as far as what, something about her that sticks out from maybe some of the others, she says 7 different times during this recorded interview with Detective Rocky Gregory, that she hadn't been. Oh, there's your little icon came in, Susan.
Yeah, it just took me a half an hour to figure it out.
She says 7 times, and I pointed them out in this video, in this video that I did, that she hasn't been touched by a police officer. But I only am doing about a 9 minutes. I'm not doing the whole podcast episode. I certainly think it's worth your while to go and listen to it. There's 2 parts. Well, there's 2 parts to most of them. The actual story of the accuser, and then Brian Bates does he scrutinizes, is I think what he calls it, in the next one. And that one's really cool because he kind of breaks down things that you might miss or not understand or not even think there's a thing. He breaks it down in the scrutiny part, and it's mind-boggling. So this is really interesting because where I'm going to start this podcast is exactly, where he's going to start the recorded interview is exactly where the recorded interview starts. Because the way it begins, it sounds almost like he like he wasn't recording and then all of a sudden started recording. But I'll let you be the judge of that. What I'll do after the video plays, what little bit of information it's going to give you, I will fill in the holes, take questions, uh, and uh, and we'll kind of go from there with it. I'm mumbling and stumbling and kind of panicking a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and just start this video for you guys and let you watch it.
In the last episode, I covered the allegations of 51-year-old Northeast Oklahoma City resident Carla Johnson, who was interviewed by Oklahoma City Police sex crimes detective Kim Davis on August 14, 2014. That interview was allegedly not recorded. However, records show that on that same day, Detective Davis also met with 53-year-old accuser Florine Mathis a second time. While her first interview was video and audio recorded, the second meeting was allegedly not. Also on this date, Detective Gregory met with and interviewed 41-year-old Northeast Oklahoma City resident Tabitha Barnes. You'll recall that interview, which was allegedly also not recorded, was cut short when Barnes became incoherent and was unable to stay awake. Detective Gregory made plans with her to return the next morning. On that next day, August 15, 2014, Detective Gregory went to try to interview accuser Barnes for a second time, but she wasn't home. Detective Davis visits with accusers Mathis and Johnson, yet again, at separate locations to get DNA samples from both of them. Those encounters were not recorded. Detective Gregory, unable to locate accuser Barnes, drives over and interviews 41-year-old Northeast Oklahoma City resident Carla Raines. According to Detective Gregory's official investigative report, quote, "On 8/15/14, I met with Carla at her residence in the 1300 block of Northeast 18th. I had been trying to contact Carla through phone calls and by going by her residence leaving my card. Carla contacted me on this date and advised she would speak with me. I advised Carla I had a possible tip that maybe she was the victim of a sexual assault. I was given her name through Lieutenant Musney on a list of possible victims. See supplemental. She advised she would speak with me in person." End quote. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to this next quote. It's literally the second paragraph of Detective Gregory's report. Quote, "Carla advised that she was stopped by an officer who made her expose her breasts. He did not touch her inappropriately, but made her expose herself to him. I asked Carla to explain." End quote. Seems simple enough, doesn't it? Detective Gregory makes contact with someone whose name appears on this mysterious list, and what do you know? They're a victim. But it's actually not that simple. To hear or read Detective Gregory's report, it definitely sounds like he simply knocked on the door and the interviewee just came right out and shared how she had been victimized. I'm going to play for you now the actual recording of that interview. Before today, this interview has never been played in its entirety for the public other than at the jury trial. I want you to decide for yourself if Detective Gregory's report is a fair or biased portrayal of his interview with Carla Raines. In particular, when does she get around to claiming she's a victim? How many times does she deny being a victim of any officer? And does it seem like Detective Gregory is leading or coaxing her to say exactly what he wants? Have a listen for yourself.
Knock, knock. Hello?
Just a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, give up. my belt on and get my ID and stuff out.
Oh, you're fine. How you doing, Carla?
I'm doing fine.
I'm Detective
You
Gregory.
have a seat.
All right. Well, I didn't think I was kind of being clear about what I was asking. That's the reason I wanted to meet you face to face.
Yeah, because I mean, I ain't, like I said, I cleaned my life up, so I haven't been out on no streets. I haven't had this.
Sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to say that's a little catch right there when he says, I didn't think I was being clear. Um, so that's why I
About
wanted to meet face
about
to
what
face.
I wanted you to say.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, I'm just going to take it back just a little titch so you can, now that you have that context, you can catch it.
I was asking. That's the reason I wanted to meet you face to face.
Yeah, because I mean, I ain't, like I said, I cleaned my life up, so I haven't been out on those streets. I haven't had this is my ID and everything. But I was telling you that I had lost my ID, but this is my current address, this address. But my last ID, see, I was supposed to call and report it. I forgot it because that's what happened to me before. Because I ain't had no warrants or nothing. I didn't want nobody to try to use my name and end up, and we done got stopped and they taking me to jail for robbing a bank or something.
So you're wanting your ID back? Is that?
No. I lost my ID. I was just.
Oh, you lost it?
Yeah, this is a new one, and I lost my old one.
It's okay. Okay.
So Rocky his mind can't focus on anything except how he's going to twist somebody's story. And so when he thinks that all she's wanting to talk to him about is getting her ID back, he's like, well, wait a minute. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about your accuser and tell you what you need to say. Because his mind doesn't, he does that with Terry Morris on July 10th when he takes her from the jail to supposedly go show him the route that Daniel took her on. And he's just like, yeah, I know. But this thing that I want to tell you about, this is what we're here to talk about. There's not much any other room for conversation in general
Yeah.
with him.
He could
So,
care less
yeah.
everything she just said.
Yep. He's
Yeah.
just like, I could just see him like with his, his hands motioning, blah, 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 blah. Oh, all you want is your ID back?
Yeah.
Because that's just how he thinks. Okay.
Just in the past year, or we could say 2, but I'm going to focus.
I'm going to back that up because I want to make sure that you hear how this literally starts out. This recording literally starts out, and I'll shut up.
No, I lost my ID. I was just.
Oh, you lost it?
Yeah, this is a new one, and I lost my old one.
It's okay. Okay. Just in the past year, or we could say 2, but I'm going to focus in on mainly like this year, 2014, but let's go back just a year, okay? Have you ever come to any contact where an officer has been inappropriate?
No.
You ever had to expose yourself to them?
No.
Okay.
I haven't really had no. I had, I think, like one contact since this year, and it was just 2. Well, actually, I wasn't driving, and I was in the passenger seat, but I carry my ID and everything.
Okay.
But, 'cause I don't be on the streets no more. I don't do drugs and all that kind of stuff. See, I don't.
But you wasn't asked to, if you had any drugs on you, anything like that, and you had to
expose myself. I mean, an officer. Was it this year?
Hi.
Oh, that's my mother.
How you doing? Yes, ma'am. I think I am. Sometimes I pretend to be.
No. How did you get my name anyway on something like this?
Well, this is the deal. We've got several victims. Okay. And so we're trying to go back on this guy. And he's a pretty bad guy.
Was he dressing himself as an officer or
you got some residents in Oklahoma.
Do what?
Oklahoma. All these white folks is crazy. They're no good.
as far as, because I haven't really been on the streets and stuff that much. So, but I mean, I know what you're talking about. I just couldn't really talk in front of her, but I know what you're talking about as far as, but I haven't, what was he, what you mean, expose himself as far as like ask for prostitution or,
Not even necessarily for prostitutes, but he's having women do different things.
oh, thinking they gonna go to jail if they do a favor for him, he wouldn't.
There you go.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. But then the past year, I really can't really recall.
And how I come across your name is that anybody with like anybody he's been running, okay. Now we kind of came up with a list.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So it's been in the only area.
The problem is
I've been in this area. See, this is the only one I even got the prosecution. This is the only area that I was in, and I guess like about 3 or 4 months, because I had been to detox when they first started open, because I used to be right down the street. But then from 19th, 20th, on down to maybe 17th within this area. That was the area that I was, that's the area, the main area that I was in prostitution in. And, I mean, you have some men stop with themselves already exposed. And, they'll have you play with them, by they standing over they play with themselves. And it's a couple men that does that.
Mm-hmm.
They play with themselves. They already have themselves exposed when they stop you. And then they hand you like $20 through the window. And it's been a couple of men that does that. Yeah.
Now, are you talking about cops, or are you talking?
I don't know if there'll be cops or not. Sometimes, I've never had a uniform officer. Okay. There's only one officer that I know a few years back. He's this was before OU was only going to 16th Street and back. He was a black cop. They used to come around here, but like to say, he got stopped by him, but he didn't question me. But he's just like, I've seen a girl that exposed her breast to him before, but as far as him threatening to arrest somebody or things, I've never seen that before, but.
Well, and the short list that we've had, a lot of them, something's happened.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And no one came forward or anything. We had to go to them.
Okay. So that is, like I said, just a little bit of that episode. It's really hard to understand her. She mumbles a lot, and I thought about putting in subtitles for her, but you can find the whole transcript of all of the recordings that they did do. You can find the transcripts of them in holtzclawtrial.com's homepage of each individual episode. So it's definitely worth going and looking at because some of these women are so hard to understand, and this it helps to to make more sense if you can read along with what they're saying as you're listening to the podcast.
As the first time hearing that, my first comment is like, what the F?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And listen, you guys, I was going to do the whole thing and the pictures and the blah, 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 and all that stuff. It is brutal listening to him twist and try to get her to say exactly what he wants her to say. And before long, not much longer after where I stopped, it goes into this long tirade's probably not the right word, but this long thing about her having to lift up her shirt and do what they call the clasp and shake, and how it wasn't even that. I had to lift my bra up over my breasts, and she never says he told me to do this. And Gregory is trying to get her to say he told me to lift my bra up and show my bare breasts. He's trying to get her to say that. And it seems like it's 15 or 20 minutes that goes on. I'm sure it's not quite that long, but it's just so brutal because she'll make an explanation, or she'll say, what it is that she's, had to do in the past. Still, if you listen to it and read the transcript, she still isn't saying that it's the same person that Gregory is talking about.
She said it was a black cop.
And she said the one that she knew about, the only one that she knew about, was a few years before, and it was a black cop. It was a black man. And
yeah, that's what I
right.
heard.
Yeah. So, but Rocky Gregory makes me sick listening to him twist these girls' stories to make it fit the narrative that he needs. And so I counted down all the different times in there that she says, no, no. And then when she says, how did you get my name on something like this anyway, or whatever she says, you're just like, she's not a victim. She is not a victim of this, what he's trying to make her a victim to be.
So what
And
are her final accusations?
that she lifted her shirt and showed her that she was lifted up her shirt and her bra and exposed her breasts. That's what, and it was a not guilty. He got not guilty on hers.
Right.
But that doesn't matter. It was a charge
God's
anyway.
sake.
And it
Oh
was
my
Rocky
gosh.
Gregory's story, not hers, because it's just insane what he goes through to try to get her to say, did he tell you to do that, or did you just do it? No. And then she wasn't very clear either, although I felt like I understood her. She was just saying, no, he didn't tell me to do it, but that's just what we have to do. It was like she was saying, that's what we black women have to do on the streets out here. We know
Right.
when a cop pulls us over, we're supposed to show our, lift our shirt and, shake it out or whatever. And
Yeah.
that's how she's explaining it. But Rocky's he tried so desperately to get her to say that, that he told me to expose my breasts, because prior to that, well, he had already gotten started with Tabitha Barnes. And it's important. And I wanted to kind of make a graphic of this and didn't, but there was that timeline between August 14th and 15th, which is when this interview occurred. There were all sorts of interviews going on with potential victims. Kim Davis was busy. Rocky was busy. He had clearly, you guys can tell me if you feel differently, but clearly he had a conversation with her on the phone. And
there's no doubt. Absolutely.
yeah. And he did not like what she answered, which was probably, nope, I've never been assaulted by a cop. What is hard to pick up is, and it's kind of why I was thinking maybe I would explain it. What's kind of hard to pick up is that she just starts kind of talking about, well, is he a cop? Or is he just saying that he's a cop? Or, and they're like, well, how did she even know? Because you don't hear him say anything in this recorded interview about it being an Oklahoma City cop, which he does in other interviews. He did that with Tabitha Barnes. He said in Tabitha Barnes's interview, that you may have been assaulted by a Oklahoma City police officer, or whatever his words were. Kim Davis did it all the time too. But he doesn't say that in this interview, this recording with Carla Raines. And so if you don't know anything about it and you're just cold listening to this, you're thinking, well, wait a minute, I missed the part where he told her it was a cop. Well, that's how you know that he had some amount of a conversation over the phone and gave her information on the phone. And like I said, he didn't like the answer that he got from her. So, that's well, you know what? I know she's got to be a victim. So I'm going to go and, now the time frame, and I believe that Brian Bates explains this 16 where he scrutinizes this, that she doesn't even, just like a lot of the other accusers, she doesn't even name the day or the time of year that they have record of Daniel having stopped her before. And Daniel had stopped her. I have it here. I'm going to actually show you guys something in a minute. In March. And he had stopped her in March, and she had said something about a few years ago. And so it's really, it's
And
very telling.
what month is he interviewing her?
Rocky interviewed her August 15th of 2014, and she was legitimately pulled over or stopped, I guess you would say, by Daniel on March 15th, I think it was.
Okay.
March 15th of 2014. But
So
the story,
5 months previous.
yes. But the story she's telling him happened a few years back, right?
Yeah.
By a black man, by a black man that she's not even sure was really a cop. He might have just been impersonating a cop, right? So it's really, really convoluted. What I want to show you guys, okay, so there's always this big deal that the prosecution or the state made about her Daniel AVL. The AVL shows he stopped her. Great. The AVL shows he stopped her. The AVL doesn't say he committed a crime or that he has sexually assaulted anybody. It just says that he legitimately stopped her.
Right.
Not a
That's how
crime,
they got.
right?
That's how they got her name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really frustrating because they make this big deal about that. Well, yeah, if the accuser that they're interviewing doesn't get the right time frame, like Terry Morris, for instance, or any of them really, they go back and they find out when he'd had contact with them, and then it's obvious that you can tell that they've gone back to the accuser and said, oh, well, we determined that the stop actually occurred on this date at this time, according to his AVL. Oh, yeah. That's right. That must have been when it was then. And that's
More
just,
leading. That's just more leading.
yeah.
Yeah.
Spoon feeding
Yeah.
a story to them. And it's just gross. Robsky, yes, it really is a messed up way of interviewing a potential witness or victim, but they did it with all of them. They did it, him and Detective Kim Davis, they did it with all of the accusers, every single one of them. And like I said, in some of the cases when they interviewed them, they flat out said that they had got a tip that you've been sexually assaulted by an Oklahoma City police officer or by a police officer or something to that effect. And that is just what did you call it, Robsky? It's poisoning the well right from the
It
beginning.
is.
So anyway, it just really, really gets me angry. But what I want to show you, because of all of this stuff about the AVL and how the AVL says, yep, this is where he was and what time he was and how long he was stopped. And there is so much more wrong with the whole AVL thing, the strategy, than people know. And it's really frustrating because a lot of times if people, they are both horrible. Yes, they are both horrible, Robsky, no doubt. But it's just really frustrating because people will see, well, the AVL said it and it shows. And so, and like I said, that just because it shows it doesn't mean that he sexually assaulted them. And most of Daniel stops were about, well, let me just take a poll of all four of you in the chat and on the panel. I mean, think back to a time when you've been pulled over on a legitimate traffic stop for any reason, speeding or, improper lane change, whatever you might have been pulled over for. About how long can you maybe estimate that your stop might have taken on an average?
It
I mean, just
feels like forever.
it does feel like forever for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, I
It's
don't
been so
know.
long since I've been stopped, I can't remember.
It has for
Maybe
me.
maybe 7 8 minutes, maybe 10 tops.
Okay. Yeah.
15, 20.
And oh, hi, Cherie. Are you going to come into the panel? A couple of minutes, Robsky. You're lucky. Joe Soda Popinski says 15 minutes. That's 10 to 15 minutes seems to be kind of for me with memories that it's like I'm like Susan. It's been so many years, but I can think maybe 10, 15 minutes that I been on a stop or been stopped by a police officer. And I really thought about that before I started, looking over the, you have a trustworthy face. Well, so do I, not to mention I'm not anymore, but I used to be blonde. Trust me, being blonde got me nowhere. So yeah, I don't doubt that it's your trustworthy face. And you probably had cupcakes too, right, Robsky? Probably
I had
carried
a cop.
cupcakes with
I
you.
had a cop hit on me one time.
Oh, wow.
Tried to get my phone number.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he pulled me over for expired plates. This is a long time ago in Chicago. Pulled me over for
Wow.
expired plates, and yeah,
Hey,
he tried to get
baby.
my phone number.
Hey, that's hard to believe that anything like that would happen in Chicago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
No.
no kidding.
Sorry.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I legitimately tried to be as unbiased as I could when I asked the question to myself. I don't feel like 10, 15 minutes is unreasonable. 10 to 15 minutes to me is not unreasonable. And they made a big deal at trial about the very first incident where Daniel stopped the first woman on June 18th. And, they said, even in the interrogation video, Kim Davis makes this big deal about, well, how long do you think you were on that stop? And he said, I don't know, 15 minutes, maybe, or something to that effect. And she said, 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, what's taking you so long on it? And he's kind of like, well, that's an average time for me. And, for just a basic stop. But then when you have to figure, okay, he got consent to search Janie Ligon's car. So yeah, that's going to take some time. It takes some time to run them sometimes, to try to get information. He didn't run Janie Ligon's, but he did have her in, he did search her car. He did question her. He questioned her in the back seat of
I was
his
going to
patrol
say,
car.
if he called in, to dispatch or whatever, depending on how busy they are, he may end up waiting
Yeah.
time for that too, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. You're like getting in line, waiting your turn. Sometimes I think they can, officers can get in right away. Other times they might have to wait, for Kim Davis does speedy stops. Yes, I know. Kim Davis was beside herself 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, what are you doing in all that time? Well, I don't think it's unreasonable, honestly. But here's
Hell
the
no.
kicker.
No.
They were saying at trial that it was, almost 20 minutes that he was on this stop with Janie Liggins. It's a little more than 13 minutes long. A little bit more than 13 minutes.
Oh my gosh. That's a big difference. Really.
A huge difference.
Yeah.
Even 13 to 15 is when you're being accused of what he's accused of, it's a big difference.
So did the defense dispute that?
I don't
mean,
believe so.
surely they had the records there during the
They did.
trial.
Yeah, they watched the traffic stop on the video in the courtroom during trial. So,
Oh, okay.
but why?
Well, it was timed right. It's timed right there.
It's time stamped. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god.
And I'm not going to say no that the defense didn't bring that up, but I don't remember reading that. but that doesn't mean it's not there, because
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how they this whole case was based, all 13 cases were based on AVL and the DNA. They tried the case by and I think I was saying this to Cherie a week or two back. That's how this whole case was prosecuted from AVL material records, and it's wrong. Now, what I learned in the probably in the last 6 months, 8 months, maybe the last year, that there's a big belief from some of us that they pulled the AVL before they interviewed these women, the detectives. And that's not at all reaching. That is not a reaching thing to say or think, because um, they had the list already. They already knew the dates that he had ran these ladies. So why wouldn't they just go ahead and pull the AVL as well and check it out and see, and if they need to, they can look at the AVL and, kind of steer them towards this date, and then of course all their police reports, like Rocky's will say something. Tabitha Barnes said her first assault was sometime in March, I think she said. And in parentheses on her police report that he wrote for Tabitha Barnes, in parentheses, the date was later determined to be February 27th. Now, that's what the AVL said, because she wasn't stopped during the story wasn't making sense for the contact in March. So he went back to this other thing on the 27th and did the same thing with Terry Morris. I mean, and they'll say that in their report. So and so didn't know what time of year it was. It was dark, and it was warm outside, because she said it was still warm outside because she was wearing whatever. And so they pulled these fucking AVLs. I don't care what anybody, can't prove anything different to me or tell me anything different unless they can prove it, that they pulled the AVLs and helped that story along as far as when and where and how long the stop took. One of the accusers said that he had her. I'm getting ahead of myself, and unfortunately, we're going to have to just go off of my complete. Brian Bates hasn't done a podcast on this accuser, but that I'm going to mention. But this one is Kayla Lyles, and her alleged assault took place in the wee morning hours of June 17th. So he had also stopped the 17-year-old earlier that evening twice. And then at 1 something in the morning, 1:20 or 1:30, 1:35 in the morning now into the 18th, he stops Kayla Lyles. And she says that he took her sexually assaulted her on the side of the road. Then he had her get in the car, and then he drove her to a abandoned schoolyard. And for those who have been around enough, you know that there's already an assault that they have in an abandoned schoolyard. Oh, guess what? It's the same abandoned schoolyard. This accuser says that he raped her, and he vaginally raped her, and that he raped her, like the physical act of raping her, for 30 or 40 minutes or something to that effect.
This is the one that this is the one that Brian Bates did not interview.
No, he hasn't done a podcast on this one yet.
Okay.
So you don't
30 or 40 minutes.
20 or 30 minutes. Yeah, he was raping her for 20 or 30 minutes, and I think the whole thing took like 40, whatever. And she was not guilty. He got a not guilty on her as well. But yeah.
When the stories got so ridiculous.
Yes.
Just
well, here's what's going to make that story even more ridiculous. Okay. This was there is proof that there was contact with her at about 1:30 or somewhere between 1:30 and 1:40 that morning, now into June 18th. And she's saying that this assault took 20 to 30 minutes to complete, and then Daniel drives back. Hey, TTM, welcome. I'm happy to see you here. What day is this? Thursday. Yes, I know it's been that way, hasn't it? Kind of like a rah. What day are we doing? He did on Kayla Lyles. Oh, maybe he's done a Kayla Lyles podcast. You know what? I could be wrong. So I guess, well, then you know what? You need to go listen to him. I guess he has done episodes 22 and 23 on Kayla Lyles. And it's definitely one then that I need to listen to it. I haven't listened to it because it's the most bizarre. Well, it's not the most bizarre, but it's the most improbable, whatever the word is, accusation there is. Because, and it took me a while to think of this. So we have Janie Liggins, who was, I don't know, I got off of Carla Raines. Sorry, now I'm just jumping all over the place, but. Janie Liggins, who started this whole thing off, was, at 2:00 something in the morning is when she was pulled over and stopped by Daniel. And we have this on, we know this because we have it on the security video that of the stop. And so maybe it was 2:04. I don't remember exactly. It was very shortly after 2 a.m. in the morning when his shift ended. And so we have Kayla Lyles, who be somewhere between, maybe Cherie, if you can, maybe if you're able to look it up and see what time her stop was, but somewhere between 1:20 and 1:30 or something to that effect in the morning is when he had contact with Kayla Lyles. So his shift is just about over. His shift's over in about 30 minutes at that point. And so he supposedly sexually assaulted and vaginally raped a 17-year-old earlier in the evening on the 17th. And then several hours later in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, that's what I think too. In the wee hours of the morning, he vaginally rapes another woman. And then at 2:04 a.m., he supposedly forces a woman that he's pulled over to, he orally sodomizes her, makes her, sodomize, give
Yeah,
him
we
oral
know.
sex. I can't
We
think of the
know.
words of it. Thank you.
Yeah.
He makes her go down on him. Okay, I don't know what else to say. Anyway, so think about that. And Kim Davis makes this big deal during Daniel's interrogation about, are you sure her penis didn't go in your mouth? Because even if you didn't ejaculate, we're still going to get skin cells, and there's going to be DNA, and we're still going to be able to get the DNA from the SANE exam. And she's making this big deal to Daniel during the interrogation. He's like, nope, didn't happen. So don't you think? So when they got the SANE results back, the tests back from the SANE exam from Janie Liggins, there was no DNA in her mouth except for her own. There were nobody else's DNA in her mouth but her own.
Yeah, should
Don't
have been
you?
those other women too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There should have
Mhm.
been DNA from the previous two women, because he certainly didn't have time to go home and shower between any of those alleged assaults.
Right.
And there was no DNA in her SANE exam.
How much later did they come up with these other two victims that same day after Janie
The
was
very
raped?
end. The very end.
Oh,
And it never made sense to me.
oh, jeez.
Here's my opinion about that. Once they found out that there was DNA, supposedly on the fly inside of his pants, they should have said, okay, well, logic tells me then I want to go back and see. We know it's not Janie Liggins. Let's go and see who he had contact with before Janie Liggins.
Yeah.
Not her DNA. Let's go and see who was before Kayla Lyles. And that's whose DNA they would have found. the third one of that night. There, but the thing of that is, they wouldn't have all these 13 women that they could pile on. They
Okay,
never went backwards.
so what's the woman's name that whose DNA it was?
Adara Gardner.
Adara Gardner. So she was that same day that he
Hmm.
pulled her over as Jenny Liggins.
Yes. Well, the same shift.
Well, that
Yeah.
makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you would think that's exactly what they would do.
that's what I think, you know, but they were more interested because they didn't come up with Dara Gardner until, ugh, oh gosh, I want to say September or October. In the meantime, they're acquiring all these other accusers.
And
When
what was
all
it?
they
Blank Winkle said something about, the more the merrier, or
pretty much,
to that effect.
yeah, when we have one victim, we don't always get things done. But when you have 13,
Yeah.
then you have more, and that's exactly what she did.
Yeah.
They did, and it's really gross. It's really disgusting, and they
Poor
just,
Daniel.
yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
It's just like,
Ugh.
and I still don't remember, and I don't know if Cherie's ever found out either, but we're still trying to find out what day they got the results that there was DNA on the pants. But I'm pretty sure it was somewhere near the middle or end of July. So not, I don't even think, I think it was just about a month later after the pants were swabbed, but I'm not 100% certain.
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah, so it was just, but anyway, if you go back and listen to, I don't know how this is circling back, but I'm going to circle back to Carla Raines. Go back and listen to her recorded interview with Rocky Gregory, and he's just really frustrated because he can't get her to say, yes, he told me to lift my bra up and expose my breasts. He can't get her to say that, and that's what he needs her to. That's what he wants her to say, and you know, of course, his police report reads much differently than the actual recorded interview. So, we can contradict so many things sometimes just through these recorded interviews that we have, what few we do have. But, and then comparing them to the police reports and then comparing them to, testimony. It's the inconsistencies and the lies are, to me, very, very obvious. And so, but what I want to do with Carla Raines, I want to kind of show you, and I know I've done this kind of before in ways, I think, but not, I don't think I've done quite this much detail. And I don't know how to do this except for one at a time, and that's really going to kind of suck, but because it would be a lot better if you could see them all together. But is that showing up on the, oh, it will in a second. Okay. So, okay, so this is what an AVL map looks like. This is what was used. This is for Carla Raines. And I think all of the accusers have one of these in their police reports, the AVL maps or whatever you want to call them. These little dots show, it indicates where the AVL or the patrol car or GPS um, is recognized, or where it pings or where it hits or whatever. So if you look at this, and these are all Daniel, every single one of these on here are Daniel. And this is on the night of allegedly that, well, he did stop her. Actually, this is, oh, because it went over into midnight. Okay. The 14th, March 14th, 2014, then it went into March 15th, 2014. But this is what they showed in court. And so it shows Daniel just all over this place. And some of these times are, if it's a 0 speed, that means he stopped. And if they're in the middle of a stop, the GPS or the AVL stops hitting on the pinging or whatever it does. And if there's no activity, no motion or movement from the vehicle, at 4, and they make this big deal about it in trial, but at 4 minutes and 59 seconds, if there hasn't been motion or movement from the car, it'll hit again, but it'll still show at 0. So right here we have a 0 speed, and then over here we have a 0 speed. So we're assuming that this is 5 minutes, 5 minutes to here, and then another 5 minutes into here is logically what you think. But also you're looking at all the, I mean, I'm thinking if I'm sitting on a jury and I'm going, wow, this is where this lady was stopped. It looks like he was stalking her and looking, and, and then this time over here that he spent so much time. And, it was because the way this reads right now, the initial stop began at, I still have to try to figure it out because it's so messed up. Looks like the original stop began at 11:22:26 p.m. And then at 11, and then 5 minutes later, he was sitting over here it wasn't 5 minutes later. Yeah, it was at 12:20 or 11:27:27 p.m. And then we don't get another hit until we get a speed of 37 or 34 knots. They use knots on these AVLs, not miles per hour, but knots. So over here we have 34 knots at 12:45 a.m. and then up to speed over here at 12:45, or starts 12:45:23 a.m. and then slows down to 12:45:28 a.m. over here. This is the only part that Carla Raines's stop involved. This is it. This little bit right here. So theoretically, to show all this other stuff in court is, to me, misleading, but it gets worse. Well, this is the worst, but I'll show you why it could have been and should have been much different. Let me and these I can't preload into the screen share. So now this one is, so what I did, I took that map and I made a copy of it on my computer and I highlighted everything, because also on that the one that they showed in court at trial, you can't see any of this. I mean, theoretically, you're just taking their word for it that these streets are all what they are and everything else, because otherwise you can't see what they are. So I lined the streets in blue. This is Northeast 16th, this one that runs along this way. This is Fonshill Avenue. Carla Raines says that she was stopped at Northeast at 16th and Fonshill is what she says. Theoretically, it's anybody's guess. They don't ever want to say an address because, a lot of these houses are, drug houses and stuff. So I was stopped in this area of 16th and Fonshill. Well, lo and behold, now she says that was a few years back, right? But lo and behold, there was contact from Daniel on 3/14 of 2014. Now, I put in here what we saw in the first one, 11:22:26 p.m., 0 knots. And then over here, 11:27:27 p.m., 0 knots. And you've got these little black dots. This one's actually 2, one on top of the other. And then this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one, and then this one all the way down here. And so, but you've only got these 2 times that it's not really showing any other times but this, literally. But then you go, oh yeah, look how much time he was, from 11:27 p.m. to 12:45:23 a.m. And then he finally left at about 12:45:28 a.m. He was there for over 45 minutes, an hour, over an hour with her. Of course he assaulted her. He was there for over an hour. if you don't know how to read it, or you don't really pay attention to it, or somebody at trial doesn't really point it out to you, that looks really bad. Really, really bad. At least to me. So I'm going to show you, now that I've shown you this, I'm going to
It's
show
really
you
misleading. It's
very
really misleading.
Is it? Oh, so it's not just me. It's misleading.
Absolutely not. No, it's really misleading. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. So, okay. Cherie's telling me July 22nd they discovered the female DNA. So once they knew on July 22nd, they should have started working backwards from Janie Liggins to Kayla Lyles to Adara Gardner. But they didn't. They kept working, through July, August, September to get as many accusers as they could. So thank you, Cherie. Okay, so now I'm going to show you this last one.
Just 1 second, Rhonda.
Okay.
It seems to me on the ones down below, the 1205 and 1245, whatever, they've got a speed on them. So that means the car's moving, right?
The car has finally started moving. But whoops, that's not the one we're looking at. But what the hell? Which one are we looking at?
But
this one.
Didn't you say that he would have a ping like how often?
It should ping every 4 minutes and 59 seconds.
Right. So where are all the pings in between? I'm confused.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's misleading, because they just make it sound, they present. Which one are we looking at? I'm sorry, I got to get back to StreamYard and see where we're at. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The way they presented this at trial was with the first one that I showed you, which somebody who doesn't know how that works looks at that and goes, "Oh my God, look at all that time he spent with her. Of course he assaulted her."
Right.
That's how I would think if I was on the jury listening to what the prosecution was saying. But now,
yeah, and I would think most people on the jury, could barely make heads or tails of this crap.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to show you one that's even more telling. And I haven't figured out, this is not the one that they showed in trial, as far as I know. I don't believe it's an exhibit, but I do want to go back and check it out and find out for sure, because which one did I must have named these wrong. That's okay. Okay, so let me see. Now, this one, this is the satellite view of that stop. And this is it. This is all you get. I don't know. Did that help to bring it a little closer?
Yeah.
That's all you get of that same stop. That is all you get. Faunchal Avenue over here, Northeast 16th right here. And this, so legitimately what happened was, and she said he did a U-turn in the interview. I think I got that far in the recording. She said he did a U-turn. So here at 11:17:26, he was going 11 knots per hour. And at he stopped her. I'm guessing this black dot right here is her, where he stopped, where the car is stopped. And then over here at 11:22:26, and I didn't do the math. Yeah, that's 5 minutes, right? So 5 minutes he was there with her there. And then at 11:27:27, it pinged again for another 5 minutes. And then at 11:28:54, he's gone. He's up to 14 knots down here at 11:28. But that's not, as far as I know, that is not what they showed at trial. And all these little colors and boxes and typing and stuff, I did that. Otherwise, all you get is a very gray, shady looking overhead, satellite view of it. And all the prosecutor can say whatever he wants, because the jury's not going to know. But this little bit right here is all there was to that entire stop that night. And Rocky Gregory needed to make it look like something much, much bigger and much dirtier. And the way they presented it at trial had to be made to look, um, much worse than it was. And they got away with it. And they got away with it with all of them. So, hi, Shaz. It is great to have you here. No, I'm still here. Yep, this is live, baby. We ended up doing it a day late because we read the PCR motion yesterday in foul play. So, but anyway, that is real. Now, and I have been thinking, all along, every time they talk about the AVL in any of the accuser's cases, I always pull them up and I look at them and I think, I'm going to figure this out. There's something not right with the AVL. Now, something that this is what I started to say probably a half hour ago, something that I didn't know until probably sometime within this last year, is that every time they pull that, I told Cherie a couple of weeks ago or whatever it was, Cherie and I were talking, and I said they should not be allowed to use AVL in court as evidence because, was that you I was talking to, Cherie? I'm pretty sure it was. That they should not be allowed to use it because even I wouldn't call him an expert, but the guy in the OCPD who runs the records department or whatever, Joseph Hill, he's the one that was pulling the AVL for them and all these other Varuna records and whatnot. He said that, the more you pull an AVL from a specific date or time or area, it changes. It's never an exact thing. So if they pulled that exact AVL now, they couldn't. I think it's gone by now. But, if they did it one day and then 2 days later or the very next day or an hour later did it again, those points would not show up the same.
Why?
And I don't know, because it's like it's an imperfect tool. It's imperfect and it should not be allowed to be used.
Wow.
Hey, Rhonda, share my screen right quick. I pulled something up just for clarification for people that don't know. This is a miles per hour to knots speed conversion.
Okay.
I couldn't remember.
I couldn't either. I know I'd asked before too.
So 15 knots is 17.2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
20 knots is 23 miles an hour. So
It's weird they use knots. What the
Yeah.
hell?
I don't know what.
yeah, I don't really understand why they would do that.
We're on the land and we are not testing wind.
Yeah.
Clearly, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, thanks for doing that, Jack.
Yep.
So anyway, that's just one example of how I think there is some hanky-panky with some or all of these AVLs, because some of them look even worse than that. The original one that I showed to you. And I don't think it
just because they look longer than the stops actually were. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, especially in that last one where that's all that there was that satellite view. And that is all that it shows was those 4 times and speeds, and not all those, the black and white ones were, all kinds of marks where his little black dot where his car was found and stuff. What I really need to do is spend some time with the one for Kayla Lyles and the one for Sherry Ellis, because I think there's a lot of shenanigans that went on in that AVL as well. Now, the thing that sucks about it is that none of that. I mean, I suppose if we got a new trial and maybe in post conviction, I should know, but it may be in post conviction we could use it, but it couldn't even be used as new evidence because it was all part of exhibits in the trial. So, me finding this information is pointless other than just to satisfy, if it does, my idea that there was shenanigans with the AVL. But but if it does, it can show to you, to the audience who don't understand AVL, or thought that it was an absolute given that he was sexually assaulting women or whatever. It shows it impeaches their credibility. I don't know how else to say it without sounding like I think I'm an attorney.
Well,
But
like you said,
credibility.
Daniel never disputed the fact that he pulled these people over.
Right.
And
Exactly.
just showing that he stopped on the AVL does not prove a crime happened.
Exactly. Yet that's how they played it in trial. This is what the AVL said, so it must have happened. And if we show them this big AVL map with all these spots on here where Daniel was, they're not going to be able to figure it out, and we're going to attempt to explain it.
Those should have been isolated per person or a period of time and explained. And I hope that having not read the transcript, I don't know, but I would hope to God that the defense attorney would have taken 5 minutes to explain this to the jury.
I don't think there was any explanation like that. To my knowledge, from what I have read, I don't think anything like that was done.
Because that looks really terrible for Daniel. And it's not true at all.
And very misleading.
Very misleading.
When I was getting ready a couple of weeks ago, when I started getting ready for this, that was one of the first things I try to always do is pull the AVL, find the AVL that was used in the police report, and look at it and try to pinpoint, exactly what it was. What I started to do was to make my own Google Earth map of the whole thing. And I looked at that one, the black and white satellite one, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't need to even look on Google Earth. This shows right here that all those other, stops or whatever were all just, I think they just showed I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they used it at trial, the satellite. I need to look and find out. But even if they did, they didn't explain the two speeds down at the bottom that were at 1240 and 1245 or whatever. So it's just very misleading, because I need to look at that again. Hold on.
I'm guessing he just went back through that area.
Yeah, he did.
On.
Yeah, it was his patrol area.
Right.
That's what they do. They just drive around, until they're called or they see something.
Yeah, and he was moving.
Yeah.
Correct.
Those times, yeah.
Yep. But the way that they made it look, he was sexually assaulting somebody. So, of course, what's wrong with you guys? How come you can't see it that way?
I need to get back on and start listening to more of the Bates Investigates, because they're really, really well done.
So informative, so much detail.
I'm telling you, I wish that guy was. It was a question I had in my mind. Is there any chance that he's going to get re-involved?
It's we've actually talked about it. The team has a couple of times. It's possible, but I think, he just started law school, and I don't think he will do
long as it's not Marquette.
No, I don't know where. I don't remember where it is. Somewhere in Oklahoma. But I don't think he is going to do anything until after, at least after post-conviction or a new trial or something, or Daniel is released, or all of his chances are shot and he just is not going anywhere. Yeah, I don't know, but because he is a private investigator, and he was the private investigator for Daniel's defense, which is why he has so much information and knowledge. But the plaintiffs, I think after the civil trial, he might possibly, is the logical thing. But
the civil trial's basically dead, isn't it?
No, not
really?
yet. I'll talk about that before we wrap up too.
Okay.
But no, it's still at play. It's still in play. But after the civil trial, he may get involved again. The reason he stopped investigating and doing anything was because he was being subpoenaed all the time by the plaintiffs for his information. And he's like, fuck you guys. I did this work. I'm
Yeah,
working
go
for
do
the
your own.
defendant.
Go do your own work, right?
Yeah. And so they just kept hassling him. He's like, no. So it's possible. That's just my speculation. I don't know that that's a fact or true or anything, but it makes sense to me that he would wait until after the civil trial is over for that reason. So, we'll see. But I do know for a fact, because I had seen it in Pacer, and I know Cherie has seen it too. Probably a year ago, we were going through all these different Pacer documents on the website. We're like, wait a minute, why is Brian Bates being subpoenaed? And there's this list, like this huge, the whole little box in Pacer would be filled with all these things they were putting in subpoena for Brian Bates. And I was like, you dogs. So, yeah. So I think Daniel would like him to get involved again, but I'm not sure. But I don't talk about the case at all with Daniel. I try to stay completely away from that topic whenever I write letters and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, it's really a shitty story from Carla Raines. And I really think that she got caught up. I think she just whoa, she got swept up in it. And by the time the interview was finished with her, and, by the time, Rocky finished hammering away at her, all of a sudden she's like, well, damn, I'm a victim now. What am I going to get out of this, And so it's just really, really frustrating. But I think she got kind of swept up, and then especially after she got her guilty verdict. But she filed the lawsuit. She was a part of the civil suit until recently. And I think I've mentioned that, and I'll kind of segue now into kind of an update about the civil trial. Does anybody in the chat have any questions about Carla Raines or it's really it's hard to, if you just listen to that episode of the podcast, you think, wow, this is jacked up. So, I mean, this is johned up. I can't even say John. Screwed up.
That's quite all right. It's been around as long as I have, so you just go for it. Go for it. It's fine.
He was exonerated on her charges, but she had the fucking balls to civilly sue him.
Oh, they all did. He was not guilty on Terry Morris and Kayla Lyles, and they're part of the lawsuit.
They're part of it too.
Wow. Shardarian Hill is part of the lawsuit, and she was not guilty on her charges. So, yeah. So yeah, they didn't care. They just not guilty, but I'm going to go get me some money anyway.
That money train. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, it's crazy. But at the same, I'm not saying I think they should have or I agree with them, but at the same time, I see it. I get, they're all poor, and they're like, wow, man, I think a lot of them now believe their lie and their accusation. I think they've convinced themselves, or their attorneys have, and their families have, and they've just convinced themselves that, yeah, I am a victim, and I might not have gotten a guilty in court on him, but by damn, he did it to me, and I'm getting some money from it. But
I'm a victim. I'm a victim of the Oklahoma City Police Department, not necessarily Daniel, but in some way, they feel justified.
They do. During the depositions, I don't know how many. Well, in the depositions, because that the plaintiffs also sued the city of Oklahoma City, so effectively the police department, the chief of the Oklahoma City Police Department, William City, and another officer that wasn't even involved at all, except for in another accuser who was never part of the trial or civil case, and they sued. And of course, Rocky Gregory. And when you listen to the depositions, and the attorneys will ask these different accusers, different questions about Rocky or the city or Kyle Bennett or whatever, and they'll ask him, why are you suing Rocky Gregory? Didn't he try to investigate your case? Didn't he, yes,
Right.
yes, 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 yes. Well, why are you suing him? I don't know. My lawyers told me I am.
Yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I have a question, and I'm sure I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. So several of these accusers identified a short black cop. Has this cop ever been identified? Not necessarily legally, but by anyone in the the community?
Well, no. I mean, I and I know Cherie will agree with me. A lot of us have a theory of who it could be, and it's even shown to a picture of it's even shown to Sherry Ellis in her deposition, who also, by the way, has dropped her case, her civil suit. She's out of the civil suit. A picture was shown to her of another possible police officer who was, I think, in 2000. Was it 2016, Cherie? Uh, Alexander Edwards.
I think so.
Yeah, 2016. He was fired from the Oklahoma City Police Department, Spring Lake Division, same place Daniel worked.
Short black cop.
It was short black cop. Yeah.
Do we know why he was fired?
Yeah, we know he was involved in he was part of a prostitution sex ring sting operation.
God.
And he was having sex with prostitutes.
Boy.
That's not
There you
exactly.
go.
I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, he was, and I don't know that they were calling them sexual assaults. It was consensual sex with prostitutes, and he's supposed to be.
Was he on the same beat as Daniel
Yeah. Well, he
during
worked
that time?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
He patrolled a different area, but the area was like the next area over from where Daniel patrolled. And he was mentioned, I believe he was mentioned in trial. And I think it was in Sherry Ellis's testimony, actually. And Kim Davis said he was looked at, or we didn't look at him because he doesn't patrol that area. I don't remember exactly what she said at trial, but they just pushed that away too.
Is he the one you suspect, or is there another one?
He's the one I suspect.
Okay.
And I've been cautioned by many before, don't, he's my, if there was a Denny suspect in Oklahoma, that we know there's not, right, Cherie?
Well, it's just an opinion. You're not making an accusation. It's just an opinion.
He fits Sherry Ellis's description to a T, to an absolute T. I thought everyone had seen the picture, and if not, and if you have, I'll find a picture of him though and share it with you, so you can just get an idea. Now, this is only going to be like a sitting picture with him in his police uniform. Oh, it's not even that big, but oh well, I'll try to make it work.
Yeah, I've seen him before.
Yeah. But that's the one and he was fired. I can't remember what he pled guilty to. He pled guilty to something and got a reduced sentence or something, or probation or some ridiculous thing. And that was in 2016. So Daniel had already been, convicted and started his prison sentence. But
he probably drove down the road to a different town and got another job as a cop.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Because we know that happens. Oh, a gore suspect. Cherie, how come you're not speaking? You need to speak. Whoop. Whoops, that's not what I want to do.
He pled guilty to 2 felony computer crimes and 2 misdemeanor counts, soliciting prostitution and obstructing an officer in the performance of official duties.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, do you have his physical
What'd he get?
description?
Did he get prison?
No. I think he got. I don't think he even got any jail time, did he? I think he just got probation.
That's what this article says. If he
Probation.
successfully completes probation, he won't be considered a felon. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's not.
We have his description, like his body type and size, and I know I have it in a document somewhere, but it's not easy to get to. But trust me, I think he was like 5'9" or 5'10", if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Or
exactly.
5'8", yeah.
Yeah.
Darker skinned than Sherry Ellis,
Yeah.
a short black man. He's a short black man. So, and
Yeah. Very buff.
yeah, buff. Yep, yeah. So, let's see here what Shaz has to say. So, if Daniel was found not guilty, there is no way they are entitled to anything. They are victims of themselves and the cops, not Daniel. Sorry, just my rant. No, I agree. I agree, but then I always have to go back to the Simpson trial, to the O.J. Simpson trial. You know, the families lost at trial. He was found not guilty somehow, and you know, the family sued O.J. Simpson in a civil trial, and they won. And so a civil suit is usually for damages, for punitive damages. Not always, but a lot of times it's, you know, to recover punitive damages. And so that's, I mean, I agree 100%, Shaz, but you know, that's unfortunately not the way the law works, I guess, or the court system. But yeah, I just think, and I think with Alexander Edwards, I'm surprised they didn't throw the book at him even more than what they did with Daniel. In a sense, I can't, like, a part of me believes that they didn't, because that, you know, they're fresh off the heels of Daniel's trial of a white cop sexually assaulting black females, and so they don't want to you know, risk getting the BLM and the black community angry by, you know, making a big deal out of a black cop doing the same types of things. So they, you know, kind of gave him a little pass and slapped him on the wrist and sent him on his way. And I think it's bullshit. So anyway, so kind of an update. So Carla Raines, if you want to know the brutal, horrible details of her case, go ahead and listen to the podcast. I think it's episode 15, and then and then Brian Bates scrutinizes it and breaks it apart and tears it apart and points out all the good stuff in episode 16. And read the transcripts that go with them, because that really is helpful too. I will, so a little update on what's going on in the civil suit. Personally, I think it's ridiculous that it's going on, because so the city, Oklahoma City, Williams City, Kyle Bennett, Rocky Gregory, they've all been granted summary judgment months and months ago. They're out of the suit. The city of Oklahoma City, and Kay has said this before, Oklahoma City the judge asked Oklahoma City, after they had been granted summary judgment, asked Oklahoma City to just consider settling with the plaintiffs anyway. I know you've been granted summary judgment, but just, you know, let's just because the judge knows that's the only way that the plaintiffs are going to recover any money, is if they could get Oklahoma City to settle. So Oklahoma City offered a settlement, a settlement amount, even though they were not obligated to. And I think they knew they were lowballing, but the plaintiffs rejected the settlement amount. So, and
Okay.
I don't know what that was. I don't think we know what the amount was, to my
A dollar
knowledge.
each. A dollar each.
$1 each, maybe. Would be, who knows? But it's like I've said the last couple times I've been on. I don't know how these attorneys must have something up their sleeve, or think they have something up their sleeve, because they have to get paid somehow, or like I said, I think the last time, they just don't care, because they've got, Benjamin Crump's got money falling out of the sky for him. Anytime there's something of, and this is not a racist comment, but it's going to come out like one, and I'm really sorry, but you have to. What happened when they convicted the four, or when they charged those four cops in Breonna Taylor's murder? Immediately, it's like out of nowhere, Benjamin Crump just shows up, and he's
Oh
there.
yeah.
And so,
Oh yeah.
he's got his hands in every single civil rights case, if they involve African American victims. And it's just what it is. It is what it is, you guys. I don't know. I maybe Cherie has seen something before, and I've never really looked, but I can't think of a public case that he's been involved in where the plaintiff has been, or the victim has been, white, or any other race besides African American. So he's got money coming in all over the place. So if he loses, if even if they're granted their, even if the plaintiffs win this civil suit, they're not going to get any money. There's no money to be had, no money to be got.
Exactly. Which is
And
why
so
I don't understand why
I don't
it
either.
continues.
I don't need, that's why I can't imagine, unless they think that I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But I know that, from what I understand, the trial is going forward on October 22nd. And we're all really hustling right now, to get everything ready for pretrial stuff. And, just, well, all I do is look through documents and scan
Yeah, I
documents.
mean, a civil suit's all about the
Yeah.
money. They're not going to change the law. They're not going to pass new regulation. It's money.
It's money.
Maybe they'll cry about winning, but there's no money to be had, and start a GoFundMe.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. That would be disgusting.
Yeah.
That would just be
Would.
horrible. Yeah, what is it going to do? Because it's not going to punish Daniel anymore. The city and the cops that were all part of it they're all free now. They aren't being charged. They can't be tried now.
They got summary judgment, right? Or out.
They all got summary judgment. Yeah, every one of them.
Yep.
And so it's just beyond, it's kind of beyond belief that they're going to still go forward with this. And to be honest, we don't know. I mean, anything could happen between now and October 22nd too. I don't know. Maybe they see what there is to show for Daniel, or to support Daniel's innocence. And, that they thought we would never figure out, or, his attorney would never figure out, or however you want to say it. And we did. And so now they can't be, there's every possibility they could all still back out, but I don't think so. I don't, I thought that in the beginning. I thought that a few weeks ago. I don't think so now, because can you imagine KZ dropping a case because she knew she was about to lose? I can't even imagine that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. She's going to fight to the bitter end, and
The better end.
and she's going to win, and she knows that. These guys know, they have to know they aren't going to win anything. But what do you do? Do you take the chance and still fight it, and look
It's probably,
foolish?
Crump probably has some sort of what do you call it? Alternative reason
He's
for
got to have.
staying. Yeah.
Well, and that brings up, and this is a different case, and I apologize, and I'll just mention it briefly. This is the Colburn case, and as we know, a couple of weeks ago, Michael Griesbach withdrew. He was the original lawyer that took on his case, but then he withdrew, which I'm surprised it took him as long as he did. But he was so far underwater with the third party stuff and all that shit. Anyway, so he's out. Colburn's and Cherie got us the new document with this new lawyer announcing herself, and I'm wondering how are they getting paid? I mean, this is a civil suit. I'm guessing it was on contingency. I can't imagine Colburn having a big pile of a big mountain of money somewhere, a closet war chest. So I don't understand.
Who is behind that? It'd be interesting to know paying those bills.
Well, is that money coming from maybe an Alan Hale that's associated with convicting? And that's just speculation.
Right.
It's just I don't know.
Or it's like what it is with Daniel's attorney, the plaintiffs in Daniel's case. It's all contingency, and if the plaintiffs lose, the attorneys get nothing. They
just eat it.
Yeah, and even if they win in Daniel's case, they're getting nothing.
They get nothing.
They'll get nothing. Yeah, they just eat it.
Yeah. And it can't be for publicity. Benjamin Crump doesn't need, and I think that might be why Adara Gardner has dropped out, because she has her own attorney, Casey Andrew or Andrew Casey. I can't remember his name. It's those two names. I just don't know which order. But so I think that oh. You know what? Somebody else told me yesterday that I have a really, really nice reading voice, and that they could just listen to me reading and just be content with that. Maybe I do. Maybe I need to start recording books. I don't know. Oh gosh, Robsky, I'm just glad you're still here. Thank you. Oh, or it really just comes down to I'm probably just pretty fucking boring, so it's easy to fall asleep.
I think for Robsky, it's probably pretty damn late.
It is very late for Robsky, absolutely.
Yeah, there you
go. I do appreciate him sticking this out, because I know it's late for him. Anyway, it's just, so that's kind of where we're at with the civil suit. It's still, as far as we know, it's still going forward, and we know now, we know that Adara Gardner, Carla Raines, Sherry Ellis are out of the suit altogether. They've dropped their claim against Daniel. So now Sherry Ellis and Adara Gardner, he got guilty judgments on that, from them. So, but anyway,
how many are still in the case, Rhonda?
Oh shoot, Cherie, can you remember? I know we still have. I'm going to count on my fingers.
Seems like it's 7.
I think 7.
Wow.
Yeah, there were originally 12. There were 13 accusers. One did not join the suit, and I think that was might have been Sarita Bowen.
No, Florine
Mathis.
Sarita got kicked out because she didn't show up to something.
Yeah, she wasn't responding to any of the interrogatories or anything really. Mm-hmm. So Florine Mathis never filed, and I think she was a not guilty as well. Maybe, I don't remember, but she never filed. And then Sarita Bowen did file. So there were 12 originally who filed out of the 13, but she ended, like Cherie said, she ended up getting kicked out of the case. So then
there were 11.
And then there were 11, and now we have Cherie, isn't there a fourth one? Why am I feeling like there are 4?
4 what?
4 that have dropped the suit.
Adair, Carla, Sherry.
Oh, Carla Raines. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh no, there's still a 4th one. Adara, Carla, Sherry.
There's
Jenny.
one that
Jenny
was a,
Liggins.
Oh no, she's
I
Oh,
went.
you're talking about the ones that dropped out.
that
Okay.
dropped out. Yeah, because I feel like there's 4, but maybe
There was one that it was mentioned that she might in documents, Rosetta,
Rosetta.
but I don't know if she did or
Rosetta.
not.
Yeah, I think they talked. I think Rosetta Great was talked about, but to this day, I haven't seen anything. Excuse me, about her. Yes, by the way, I don't know who else already knew this, and I had kind of forgotten about it, but I did get COVID again, so I'm not testing to see if I still have it. I just have the after effects again right now. But so yes, I've had COVID twice within about a 6-week period of time. Yay me! So anyway, but I feel better now than I did a week ago. So, but I think that's what's wrong with my voice. Oh, plus I did a lot of reading yesterday. It could have something to do with it. But anyway, maybe there are 8 still left. I guess there are, because I think Rosetta's name was talked about, but I don't believe she's left the suit.
Yeah, I've written them all down, and if Rosetta's still in, then it's 7. I mean 8.
8.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
8. So yeah, just I don't know what the city of Oklahoma offered them, but it wasn't enough. So I don't know what these attorneys are thinking, but it is obvious to me that they initially were not even thinking about these women. They were thinking about lining their pockets. Can you imagine 13 victims? Can you imagine if they had been able to win a civil suit with 13 victims? That would have been
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I wish I could get in their heads and figure out what they're thinking, or there's got to be some sort of a legal strategy that they're still sticking with, or they're going to drop out at the last minute. I don't know. We don't know.
What does have you asked Travis about that?
About
why they're continuing when there is no money?
I haven't. That's actually a really good question to ask him. I maybe I'll email him tonight, but I haven't asked. But I do know that he was in a murder trial. A cop accused of killing somebody. He won that. He got his client free. But so he's done with that now. So I know he's been helping out a little bit more. Kind of volunteering his professional advice, I guess you would say.
I would be interested to know what he has to say about that.
I'll have to ask him, because that for whatever reason, I've never asked him that question. Cherie, can you think of any logical reason why? I mean,
The only thing that I could think of, but it doesn't seem to make sense, is like if he come into a bunch of money down the road, they could, have
attached to that.
Yeah, but I don't know. It seems like the only way I think he would get money is if he is exonerated,
right,
and wins,
which
and then
makes him not
how
guilty.
could they claim? Yeah. So I don't know. That's a very good question.
Yeah, because if he's exonerated, then that means the jury found that he did not commit the crimes against any of the women. Therefore, how can there be a freaking civil suit? I don't know.
But the fact that there was one previous, as said and done, and they've been awarded so much money, the system's so screwed up that maybe they could collect. I don't know.
Yeah, you got a good point.
Well, and now when you know what, that's probably exactly what it is, Cherie, because that's exactly what they did to O.J. Simpson. They took his book deal away from him. And I believe that part of, they won their civil suit, and he
Yeah.
claimed he didn't have any money. And so I believe they attached any future earnings to that civil suit, to those punitive damages. So, you know what? That must be the only thing. They know Daniel's not guilty. They believe he has a strong chance of being exonerated, and that's what they're going to bank on when he files his claim against the city of Oklahoma and whoever
It,
else.
it's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know.
Uh, the thing that what would really suck. Oklahoma has a cap. I think it's a $750,000 cap. Is that Oklahoma, or is that might be Missouri? I
Or
can't remember
Virginia.
now. Virginia. No, well, we know Virginia's punitive damages are
Oh, that
350,000.
was 350. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We could contact Elaine, and she could probably let us know.
Glut.
She's been
So
fired too.
I think, yeah, that's what I hear. But that makes sense to me, though, really, that she would be,
Yeah, she
because
lost.
usually, it just, I'm surprised that Rottenborn's still a part of it, but I'm not even mad at that. But most attorneys, when they file an appeal, they don't always handle the appeals. I mean, I guess they do, but usually there's a new attorney for appeals. But Robsky, no, not Elaine. I love listening to what was her name? Oh gosh, the purple lady. Oh god, the
Purple lady.
cursey words lady. I can't think of her name. Just
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
anyway, whenever I would listen to her, like on replay or something, she'd be like, Elaine would do or say something stupid, and she'd be like, "Oh, Elaine." that's what that's what I'm, that's what that made me just think of Robsky. But yeah, so I mean I'm pretty sure I read in the last few months that Oklahoma has a cap at $750,000 for damages on a wrongful conviction. Um, and I am betting that if he won damages, which he would, but that's also going to be drug out for how many years? I mean, God, some of these women could be. I'm not trying to put any bad juju on them, but some of them could be dead by then. These attorneys could be dead by then. Who knows? But
Yeah.
you know,
Plus, his attorneys will get what 40% of that or something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So but to rob him of any future winnings that he would be entitled to for an exoneration is just even sicker than the civil suit to begin with, in my opinion. But that's got to be what they have to be thinking.
yeah.
Um,
Ask
which
Travis anyway.
I will. I'll
Yep.
I'll message him in Discord and ask him. I might have to email him. I think he pays closer attention to the emails than he does the Discord stuff. But
I hate to, but I
anyway,
have to drop out of here, Brenda.
yeah. Well, I'm about to wrap up. I mean, yeah, if you got to go,
Okay.
I
If you're about to
understand.
wrap
But
up.
yeah,
Oh,
I don't
hold on a
think. I
minute.
mean, there's no questions in the chat, and like I've said before, just go listen to those podcasts, and you're going to get a lot. For me, you just get a lot of jaw jacking and mouthing and talking, but this stuff
Uh,
gives you good facts and information. So
And the one that was done today with Erica and
yeah, I don't,
Daniel's sister and
yeah, that was so strange. I'd never heard of that. Let me find that really quick, and I'll put
that
it in the chat.
I haven't finished it yet, but it's an excellent podcast.
Yeah, it really is.
And that has the investigator also.
Yeah,
What's his name?
yeah,
Yeah,
Brian Bates.
Brian Bates. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to put this in the chat, guys, for you guys to listen to, or for you guys to check out if you want. I didn't know anything about this. I don't. It's not like everybody runs their ship by me anyway. But I've only listened to a few minutes of it. I didn't have time to listen to much of it, but check that out. And it's on Brian. Well, it's Brian Bates's channel,
Holtzclaw.
Daniel Holtzclaw. Yeah, it's called Daniel
Yeah.
Holtzclaw. So check that
Yeah.
out because, and I'll try to remember and put it in the description tonight.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
very
good
good.
information in there too. From what I understand. But okay, well, if there's nothing else before you have to take off, Susan, do you have anything else you'd like to add or say?
No, I just pray
Yeah,
for Daniel. We've got to get him out of this mess.
yeah,
It's
we do.
horrible.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Jack, how about you?
No, same thing. Just keep on keeping on.
Yep, absolutely. Cherie, my quiet sister friend. Oh, Ropsky. Maybe I do have a future. Who knows? Cherie, you muted, hon. I didn't hear anything you said.
And it was so eloquent. I said, no, I just encourage everybody to keep learning more about Daniel's case and supporting him.
Yeah, agreed. All right. I've said enough, and so I will. I should be able to be back next. I might make it Thursdays if it means Susan can show up. I might just have to switch it to Thursdays because I like having her on the panel. But until next time, either next Wednesday or Thursday, hopefully. I can't remember who comes next, but we'll be talking about that one. Do you know off the top of your head, Cherie?
No, I can't tell you.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll just leave it at that, and definitely check back with us next week. And I may or may not have more updates about the civil suit. We'll see.
Rosetta.
The Rosetta. Oh boy. Oh gosh. Okay.
Rosetta Great.
Yeah. That might take a couple of weeks to do hers. That might be a
Oh,
two-parter for sure. Jack knows. She's so
God.
gross.
Oh, God.
Oh Jesus, that was funny. Okay, so but until next week, or as soon as we can get the first part of Rosetta Great started, we're going to take off. And so, thank you everybody for being here and for staying up late. Robski, Shaz, thank you guys so much. And until next time, peace out.
Good night.